This is the 2025 F-150 XLT. It's the #1 selling trim level of the F-150. And in this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about it. In this video, I'm going to give you a deep dive into the XLT trim level. This is a part of the series where we've covered vehicles like the XL and the STX that's directly behind us. So if you haven't had a chance to see those vehicles in those videos, make sure you do that, because you might find a trim level that's a little bit lower or higher to fit your needs. And I'm going to have time cards all the way at the bottom, so that way you can pick around and see exactly what you want to know about this new F-150 XLT. It's an interesting trim level, and I'll start off with that because it is the #1 selling truck, but it is also the #1 rebated F-150 in existence. If you want a rebate, the largest one you can get, the XLT is going to be the trim level for you. In fact, these things are going for crazy amounts of discounts, and you can check them out at alabamaford.com down below. But I want to get back to the truck itself and show you a little bit about what we're looking at. First off, you'll notice you've got the power dome hood is what Ford calls it. And it kind of gives you enough visibility out of the vehicle when you're driving it, but it also looks nice and aggressive on the outside. But because this is an XLT, you are still dealing with what Ford calls the coast-to-coast grill. The idea is that the grill comes all the way to this side of the coast, all the way over to this side of the coast, and it actually surrounds the headlight as well. Now, this one happens to be a loaded-up version of the XLT. In fact, this is going to be the #1 way most people will spec out an XLT. There's quite a range of different options available. You have a 301A equipment group, which is a base version of the XLT. Then you have a 302A equipment group, which is what you see here. Then you even have a 303A equipment group, which is like the luxury version of the XLT. And in this video, I'm going to kind of give you a deep dive onto every one of those and show you deeply what is going on with this 302A equipment group. But moving right along, you'll notice because it's got the black XLT appearance package, that you've got the black painted grille that goes all the way across, as well as the black painted located right here. In my opinion, I love this grille. Now, I do like the Lariat grille a little bit better. I like the trimmer grille a little bit better. But the problem is there's a price difference. And so the question is how much more do you actually like it? So moving right along, you'll also notice that we have a color-matched front bumper on the upper side and the lower side with black accents down below. Now, this one is a four-wheel drive, so you've got tow hooks up front. And to me, I just think it completes the look. As far as the tow hooks, the black, the gray, if you pick the right color on the F-150, it really does look nice. And it matches up with their brand new Ford logo, which is actually black and white now for one of the very first times ever. Ford has not been historically very much interested in changing from the blue and the chrome Now, they're finally getting into some different colorations on that iconic Ford logo. Now, let's take a look at the wheels and tires. Goodyear Wrangler 275/65 R18 tires. They're an all-terrain tire because of the package that you have set up here. But my favorite part is actually wrapped in an 18-inch wheel. So keep in mind that if you're wanting a massive wheel and a tiny little sidewall, this is not going to be the truck for you. Or you can rely on companies like us, TC Customs, to swap out the wheels and tires for this vehicle. Now, the suspension on this truck is going to be nearly identical to the other two trim levels we found below us, which is the STX and then the bottom of the barrel. That sounds so bad. But the XL, which is the base trim level, STX, XLT, they've all got the exact same suspension system. The only difference is whether you get a two-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive. Now, moving right into here, you can see the F-150 fender badge is XLT branded now for the first time, and you'll also see that it is painted gloss black because of that XLT black appearance package. Notice that on the XLT, you don't have a painted mirror cap. You also do pick up the painted door handles for the very first time ever. So if you like the look of the STX and you say, I just don't like those unpainted door handles, the XLT is going to be the trim level for you. You'll also notice this little button right here. It's got a lock icon on it. The reason I'm showing that to you is because this vehicle has intelligent access with push-button start. Basically, what happens, you walk up to the vehicle, it knows you're walking up to the vehicle and it will illuminate automatically. But the second you stick your hand in the door handle, before you can ever pull on it, the truck automatically unlocks. But what happens when you're getting out of the vehicle and you want to lock it? That's what that button's for. You just press that button and walk away, and as long as the key is in your pocket, it'll automatically lock the truck right away for you. Towards the back of the vehicle, you'll notice there's a big old piece of plastic. Ford calls that a stone cuff. Now, I actually think it's probably going to help with aerodynamics a little bit to kind of churn up that air, but Ford is saying that is designed to try and kick some of those rocks down instead of hitting the tire from the front end of the vehicle. But you'll notice back here, we've got the same set of wheels and tires. It's a squared setup. We're the same size in the front and the rear because of the four-wheel drive. But the reason I wanted to bring all of this up is because in the rear of the suspension, this is what makes this F-150 a truck. So first off, you have a steel frame. Not just a steel frame, but you actually have a fully boxed steel frame for extra strength and rigidity. This is a lot better than some of the other trucks out on the market that have tried to design their frame off of aluminum. Let's keep talking a little bit more about how the suspension and everything works back here. This is a leaf spring setup. Basically, what you have is you have a big spring that runs this way, but it's set up to have dual spring rates. What do I mean by that? When you're just riding around on the vehicle, no problems, no payload in the back of the vehicle, you are riding around on effectively the lighter spring rate. It gives you that better ride quality when you're just putzing around town. But when you put a load in the bed of the truck or a massive trailer out back, once that suspension starts to go down a little bit, now it's engaging the second spring rate, which is a lot higher and made for the towing, made for the hauling. It's actually a really smart setup that Ford has thought of on this truck. And the shock absorbers are mounted outside of those leaf springs to give you as much leverage as you can to make sure that that rear axle isn't hopping all over the place the second you hit a pothole. So Ford has really thought this thing all the way through to make sure you can actually work out of this truck. This is another reason the F-150 XLT is the #1 selling trim level of all of the F-150s. And that's because you have quite a few different options on your key fob. Yes, the intelligent access that we talked about just a second ago, but you have the ability to remote start your vehicle with the key fob. In the previous two generations, you have to use your smartphone app to remote start the vehicle. But in addition to that, you even have the ability to drop the tailgate with the key fob itself. All you have to do is double click that tailgate and the tailgate will drop down nice and smoothly. After dropping the tailgate, it made me realize Ford has at least 3 different tailgates for the F-150s. You have the base one that has no tailgate step in it. You have this one that has a tailgate step built into it, which is actually really nice. And then you even have another one higher than this. That's going to be found on the higher trim levels, and that's called the Ford Pro Access tailgate. But it is nice that you still have the ability to get in and out of the bed of the truck pretty daggum easily with no concerns or questions. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a really good system. You'll also notice that the tailgate that we have here even has C-clamp channels, so that way you can bolt a piece of wood down, it's not bolting it, but you can clamp that piece of wood down to the tailgate and saw it off if you want to. In addition to that, you even have the ability to measure off the wood and basically mark it up however you need to. But you might be asking yourself, okay, well, I can mark it up and I cut it, but I don't have a way of cutting it. Actually, yes, you do. Take a look over here. This is going to be the Pro Power on board. Now, there's a couple of different versions of this, and it depends on what engine that you get. Now, this is the 3.5 EcoBoost, which gives you the normal 400-watt outlet in the back of the vehicle. Now, if you upgrade the vehicle to a 3.5 Power Boost, you can have actually 7.2 kilowatts of continuous power cranking out of your truck. It basically turns your truck into a giant generator. And so if you're interested in a truck that can actually maintain and hold down a campsite or a job site or a tailgate party, you might want to consider Power Boost for that reason alone. Because this F-150 is an XLT, you get a feature called zone lighting, which is awesome.